Friends, welcome to another episode of Your Soul's Road Trip, the show where we don't have a tagline. So that just is what it is. Today, I want to talk about the idea of unaliving yourself, of cutting your road trip short, calling it a day, saying, you know what? The hell with it. I gave it the old college try. I'm out. And how that fits in to the overall overarching idea of your soul deciding to be you as this human, the same way someone decides to take a road trip from New York to LA and fly home midway through the trip. So here's how it basically breaks down. I want you to think of your soul as a great adventurer. And imagine it's like a college road trip. And some college kid falls into a shitload of money. It just falls like manna from the sky. You know, they're like Scrooge McDuck, rolling around with the coins and everything. And that's a great reference for all of you over 40 and all of you under 40. What do you want? I got nothing. So you have all this money and you got a great car, or at least a functional car, or at least a car that'll like get you to the gas station before dropping dead. But you got a car. So you got money and you got a car and you have an idea. I could fly from New York to LA, but I really can't see the country that way, especially since it's a cloudy day, coast to coast. I'm going to look out the window and I'm going to see the same cloud for 3,000 miles. It's not all that interesting. And that's kind of what your soul is dealing with on the other side. Back home, source, singularity, Detroit, whatever you want to call it. It's not getting the richness of the on-the-ground experience that you can get from a road trip. The soul can look into Earth and understand what's happening in human affairs and the comings and goings and the ins and outs from a detached 30,000 foot perspective, from a different dimensional perspective, a different density, if you will. But they can't really experience it from a plane. You can't experience the barbecue in Memphis from a plane. And you can't experience watching a high school basketball game in Indiana, or a high school football game in Texas, or a high school hockey game in Minnesota from a plane. You can't experience any of that. You can't experience a 800-person Indian wedding from a plane. And if you do, that plane's going to land probably in violation of a shitload of things. But you come down here and do the road trip because you say, I want to see America and experience America the way it is meant to be seen and experienced. And you can only do that in the car on the road. The same way your soul can truly only understand what it's like to be a human and to go through this density in your body as the character of you, interfacing with all these other different things it shows up as. So essentially, you're on this great road trip. Now imagine your real home is LA. Now I'm going to say LA instead of New York, even though I'm a New Yorker, because can you really imagine home, like the singularity, the source of all things, the place of peace, joy, and harmony being New York City? Could you seriously imagine that? Could you imagine heaven being a place where people say, get the hell out of my way? Are you going to open your eyes when you walk in, or we're going to have a little conversation about it? Could you imagine this? Could you imagine? No. But LA, $75 million mansion, Malibu overlooking the Pacific, sitting out, chilling, everything is perfect. Yeah, that sounds a hell of a lot more like where it's at. So you leave LA and you're going to eventually come back to LA because we all return to source. You can say, I'm going to drive 3,000 miles through everything before I come back home because I want to see what it's like. So you disembark. Actually, you embark. Disembark means the end of the trip. This is what happens when coffee is in short supply this morning. But thankfully, my lovely Yeti, which is not sponsoring this, but it should because it just gave you a shout out. So Yeti people, I'm doing this for free and there are labor laws in my state, so get with the program. When you embark on this trip, my friends, you get into your body the same way you get into your car and you come out of the womb the same way you coming out of the tunnel from Manhattan into New Jersey. And the trip begins, and you're looking around, you're crying, and all these giants are in front of you, and you're naked, and it's weird. When you're looking up and you see a bunch of people looking down on you, and you're naked and covered in your own piss. That usually happens at the bar at 2 a.m., but now it just happens when you're born. So you come out of the womb, you're crying, you're screaming, they slap you. Again, it's like the bar at 2 a.m., like you're crying, screaming, naked, pissing yourself, they're slapping you. It's a whole thing. And then your adventure, your journey begins. Now, everybody's journey is different. Now, some take the most direct route they possibly can from New York to LA. the most conservative route you can take. If you pump it into the GPS, what are they going to tell you to do? Depending on the traffic conditions, they're probably going to tell you, and if you don't want to do the tolls, they're going to say, all right, simple. You take I-80 through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa. I love I-80 through Iowa. I'm not going to lie. It's awesome. People shit on it. I love it. Then you go through Nebraska. Then you hook up with I-76, which will take you into Colorado, through Denver, where you hook up with I-70, which will take you through the Rocky Mountains into the desolate, beautiful wasteland that is eastern Utah. You're going to hook up with I-15 in middle of Utah. Then you're going to go south into Vegas. Hopefully nothing catastrophic happens to you there, but I can't be held responsible. And then through the Mojave Desert, finally into LA. Okay, great. That's the most direct way to go. And frankly, a lot of people decide, hey, that's how I'm going to live my life. That is how I am going to do my road trip. And how does it show up when humans do that kind of road trip? Simple. Humans say, okay, I'm going to follow the playbook. I'm going to follow the GPS everybody set out for me. I am going to do the thing. And what is the thing? Go to school, get good grades, make good friends. Don't be too much of a dick to your parents or your teachers. Head down, mouth shut, nod along, get into a good college, keep nodding, don't rock the boat. You know, agree with your professors, or, that's the thing. It's a very open-minded place unless you say, I don't like what you're saying. And then, so you just want to nod along and yeah. You just want to eat shit with a smile and say, what a chef. And you just want to keep doing that and that. Okay, great. Then you go out and get a job. Great. You're nodding along. You're not rocking the boat. You're nodding. You get your job. You meet your spouse. You get married. Okay. You have the big wedding, and it's a whole political thing about which aunt you invite. You go through all that. Great. And then you have the kids. That becomes a whole thing. How often does a mother-in-law get to see the kids, but you're not along and you don't rock the boat? You don't rock the boat. You continue to eat shit with a smile. This is great. You're cruising on the interstate. You're cruising on I-80. You're not taking a detour. You're cruising on I-80, just like the GPS is telling you to do. And you're going the whole way. Okay. You work, you don't rock the boat at work either. You kiss ass. The boss is always right. It's like, it's great. Or you start your own business where the customer is always right. And you're smiling, you're nodding along, and you're practicing the faith that was given to you when you were a child. You're not rocking that boat. You're not asking too many questions. Nobody wants questions, and you just go along with it. Okay, great. And then you go your whole life on that interstate, and you're seeing the same cornfield the entire way until you get to the point of the mountains where you're seeing the same mountain the entire way. And then what happens? You get to LA and you die. That's it. You get to LA and you die. What did you see along the way? Not all that much, really. You saw some stuff. I mean, there's probably an interesting service station you popped into in Iowa. Once again, I-80 in Iowa. A lot of love for I-80 in Iowa today. You notice this? I'm noticing this. It's great. They have a giant truck stop in I-80 in Iowa. It's fantastic. It's a great place. But that's what you've seen on your trip. And you look back on it, you think, I mean, yeah, there's some ups and downs, and some interesting things I ran into. And there was a tornado outbreak in Nebraska, so that was an experience. And got hit with a snowstorm in Pennsylvania. Probably wouldn't recommend that to my best friend. And we had some tire trouble in Utah, and we were in that stretch of 106 miles on I-70 where there's no service stations and there's no signal, and that was a harrowing experience. Maybe that was a point in your life when you got sick, or lost somebody, or something happened, lost a job. You go through some things. But ultimately, you look back and the road was pretty straightforward, and it wasn't all that interesting. So somebody else looking at like your family slideshow on the other side, because they're still using, projectors on the other side. They're still stuck in 1978 for some reason in a place of elevated consciousness, but whatever. And they say, you know what? All right, you did that and good on you. And I guess you might have had a little bit of fun here and there, but it doesn't look all that interesting. What if you took a detour? And what if you went down to the side roads instead? What if you took, not even going crazy, let's say you just took a divided 4-lane non-interstate highway just to go through some rundown gas stations and some rinky-dink joints on the side of the road that are serving barbecue, and they're much tastier than the crap you get in the suburban places off the interstate. It's really, really good. Okay. And you're going to meet some really interesting characters doing that. You're going to take some detours. Maybe you don't get married. Maybe you just have one relationship after another and you keep cycling through, and you get to the other side, you get home, you get to LA, you croak, you call it a day, and they say, well, that was interesting. Look at the detours you took. You went off the interstate for like half the states. People say, get back on I-80. You're like, the hell I will. I'm going to date that guy over there with the tattoos. You just say, you know what? Forget about it. You follow your own path. Awesome. Now, this is the complexity and this is the richness of your soul's road trip through your human body, through the journey. But this is where it gets tricky, my friends. And this is going to bring us to kind of the point of this video, which is the people who decide to cut the trip short. Now, what does that look like? Let's break it down. I want you to think of a specific road trip where everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Or maybe the road trip started great, but then it all went to hell quickly. And the prospect of it turning around is pretty damn slim and grim and trim. No, it's not trim. Nothing trim. No, it's just slim and grim. I like things in threes, but let's be honest. Slim, grim, that's it. It's what we're dealing with. Slim and grim. So the opportunity for this thing to get better does not look plausible to you. Let's say you've had a lot of car trouble along the way. This damn thing keeps breaking down on you. And it's just a fight to get it up a damn hill. Forget a mountain even. It's just a fight to get it up a hill. This could be a body you're dealing with that's breaking down. You could have cancer that recurs. You could have osteoporosis. I mean, you could have all these different things, the inflammatory conditions, leaky gut syndrome, IBS. These are not fun things. Diverticulitis. I'm going to all the gut issues if you've noticed this, and this is not coming from direct experience or anything like that. But there's a lot of different health issues that can make the journey very harrowing, very, very harrowing. And if you have enough of these gut issues, enough of these inflammatory issues, enough of these just chronic health issues, let's say you have a knee injury that never quite got right. And every time you walk, it starts flaring up. And every time the weather changes, like you're 40, but you feel like you're 85. The knee is just going crazy on you. And you say, fuck this. You know what I mean? What am I doing here? And you're near an airport. Let's say you're near Chicago. You're like a third of the way through the trip. Like maybe you're 25, 30. But you have so many health issues that you just can't enjoy life. And you're driving by and you see the exit sign for Midway Airport. And you think, I could just turn off right here. I could book a flight. And I could be in LA in 3 hours. I could be home that quickly. Oh my God, how great would that be? I don't got to drive this beater anymore. I don't have to keep dealing with the nails and the tires, blowing it out and, fighting me every step of the way and going to these shady mechanics on the side of the road who are ripping me off. I could just get on a plane and go home today, right now. And that is where the unaliving impulse comes from. The unaliving impulse comes from being on a road trip, your soul's road trip, and saying, this road trip has been so difficult. I just want to go home. And look at that. I'm near an airport. I could book a flight today and get the hell out of Dodge. And that'll be that. By dinner, I'll be home and in the warm embrace of my family and my Malibu mansion overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean, leaving this beater of a car behind. I mean, it's so tempting. It's so tempting. Now, of course, along the way, everybody's screaming at you, you can't leave. You can't fly home. You've got to drive all the way back. They talk about it as if like you're never going to get home, as if like this road trip is going to last forever. You're going to get home, like one way or the other. You're going to get back to LA. This is the thing that a lot of folks in like the kind of suicide prevention world never really bring up. Like, you're going to get back to LA either way. They make it like an either or paradigm. Like, you can't, like, you'll die or you'll live. Like, no, you'll die or you'll die. You'll die or you'll die. The road trip will end by you getting the car back to LA, or you just dropping the car off at an airport and flying home. Either way, the road trip will end. You will be back home in LA in your Malibu mansion. It all has a happy ending. Like, that's the beauty of it, friends. There's a happy ending no matter what. Like my favorite massage parlor back in Queens, and I cannot believe I just said that out loud, but it all gets a happy ending. It always does. But the trick of it is, when do you go home? When do you pull the plug on the trip? And that is a question everybody has to ask for themselves. At what point does the road trip stop being enjoyable? Because if you're going through difficulties on the road, and anybody who's been on a long road trip, and I've driven across the country back and forth a few times, and all points in between, I spend more time on the road than anybody who's not a trucker probably should. And I've seen it all, and I've experienced it all. And I've driven through areas that were having tornado outbreaks, and I've been caught in blizzards, and I've had car trouble. I've been in accidents, like all these different things that have happened. I've had food that's been very questionable. There's a lot of things that have happened. I've had hotel rooms with even more questionable characters and roaches and this and that. You're going to experience it all. You're on the road long enough, my friends. You are going to experience it all. It's part of the deal. The question you have to ask, and the person who's on the soul's road trip has to ask, is the juice worth the squeeze? And this is what brings somebody to the ledge in their life when they ask the question, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because if you're on that road trip and you're just having the time of your life and, some bad stuff happens here and there, you chalk it up to the cost of doing business. That's the nature of the beast. What are you going to do? Okay, that's how it is. Yeah. I just had the greatest night of my life in Indianapolis. It's the most exciting place I've ever been. So I'm just loving life. India, it's so much fun. And then you drive out of there and you hit a deer the next morning. Shit. The deer comes through your windshield and starts kicking through, and you got to make sure it's not blasting your face in the process. And anybody who's lived in Michigan knows that that is not a remote possibility. So you're like, all right, but I had such a good time in Indianapolis. I had so much fun in Indianapolis. I went to St. Elmo's. I got me that shrimp cocktail, and then I went downstairs to Nikki Blaine's, had a nice stogie. It was a great time. Then I got to go watch the Pacers win, kick the Bulls' ass. That was fun. It was all great. I just had a great time. This is worth the road trip because now I'm thinking I can have an even better time in St. Louis, because who doesn't? I mean, St. Louis is the hub of all fun, truly, in this world. So everybody ultimately will go through a difficulty if it means the promise of something better again. So you're like, all right, well, I hit the deer. That sucks. The car is mangled, but you know what? I'll deal with it. My insurance is pretty good. I'll get a new rental and I'll get back on the road and see what St. Louis has in store. But if you hit a deer in every single state, I'm talking every single state, and you hit an ice storm where you're swerving out and hitting a tree, and now your body's mangled from all these accidents and everything, and every time you go to a restaurant, you end up gagging it up at the end of the night because the food was just terrible, and every hotel you stay in is just the absolute roach motel. It's like the El Cortez in Vegas times 1,000. At some point, you're going to say, I just want to drop this damn car off, assuming I still have one that has been mangled by a deer or a tree by now, and I want to fly home. I want to fly. I'm tired of this. Now, of course, the soul wants you to stick around because the soul is, you shouldn't say this, but it's kind of a sadist. It's like, I'm not really experiencing it. I'm dreaming that I'm experiencing it through you. So like, whatever, it's like a lucid dream and I can't really get hurt. It's like all an illusion. So just keep the party going. But you, as the point of consciousness that shrinks down into the human body, you're like, screw you, Jack. I'm the one feeling this. You're not feeling it. I'm feeling it. You're talking to the oversoul. You're going back and forth. You know what I mean? It's like one of those debate shows from the 70s, like a he said, she said kind of deal. And you're telling the soul, kiss my ass. I'm down here. You're not. Don't want to hear from you. All right. Like the people, who are rich, who have the courage to talk about their addiction struggles and the courage to talk about their mental health struggles, from the mansion overlooking the sea with 85 million in the bank. They have the courage to step up. Whereas the person out there who's broke as shit looking for a job, that's not courage to do that on LinkedIn. That's called insanity. So it's like, I don't want to hear it from you. All right. You're in no position to tell me how to run things down here. But ultimately, the soul wants you to keep the trip going because it came down here as you to experience it. So no matter what you've experienced so far leading into Chicago, or as far as you've gotten, it wants you to keep going. It's like, ooh, what more can we experience in Iowa? Like, well, we know what we're going to experience, and it sucks because that's what it's been, and that's what it's probably going to be. Now, the fun part about it is you don't know that. You don't know that it's going to suck in Iowa. It might not. It might be great. You might love Iowa. Once again, Iowa. We're coming, like all roads lead to Rome. In this case, the Roman Empire is born on I-80 in Iowa. Everything in Iowa can be beautiful. Everything in Iowa could be great, but you don't know that. If you take the flight home from Chicago to LA, you'll never find out. Maybe that's okay. Not here to moralize that. Because if you've been through so much just getting to Chicago, the thought of driving 2 more miles, much less 200 to get to Iowa, is unfathomable to you. And nobody can judge your decision to go home but you. And the reality is, even if you do take the flight back home on Southwest, good luck, from Midway, then you have still given your soul, and by extension, the universe, the Akashic records, the whole deal, 1,000 miles of adventure and knowledge and experience. And what a gift you have given to the all to experience itself as you for that 1,000 miles, as difficult as it was, as harrowing as it was. And friend, it's anytime you drive past Cleveland, it's harrowing. And especially on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, or frankly, any road in Pennsylvania, it's harrowing to experience. You have done an unbelievable service to the all just by going to Chicago from New York on that road trip. On your soul's road trip, you have done an unbelievable service just driving that 1,000 miles. Now, you set out to go all the way. You set out to drive from New York to LA and for your soul to experience the entire thing. Let's say your soul like came here and said, you know what, let's do 90 freaking years and see what we can pack into 90 years on this rock. It will be an unbelievable 90 years. And you do 30 and you get to Chicago. You're like, screw this. Screw 90? Reel at 90. You want 60 more years of this? Are you crazy? Screw you. Why don't you try doing it? And you're talking to yourself, of course, because it's like, there's no you, there's no me. It's whatever. But you're saying, I can't fathom the idea of 60 more years in this body. I can't even wrap my mind around the concept of 60 more years, as difficult as the 30 have been. I can't. But the soul is like egging you on to keep going. But of course, you say, screw this, I'm going home. Like Cartman, screw you guys, I'm going home. Like you're done, you're out, forget it. You've done enough. That's okay. And nobody wants to hear that. Say it's not okay. It's okay. You do what you got to do. Listen, you've still given the universe the 1,000 miles. You really have. And that's amazing. So I understand the impulse. If you're in Chicago, you want to say, screw it. I also understand the impulse if you're like halfway there in Kansas City. Maybe like you're at midlife, like you're in your 40s. This is where it happens for a lot of people, especially men. Like guys, there's something about guys in their 40s. You're like, hey, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? What the hell am I still doing over here? Because especially guys in their 40s, like in their mind, they're still basically 16. Like we never really kind of grow out of that, And there's a lot of ways that manifests and shows up, and I'm not going to say it without getting canceled, but we never quite leave 16. But then you look at your body like, I'm not 16. I'm definitely not 16. Like I woke up in pain. That's weird. Why did I do that? I didn't hurt myself, but I apparently slept wrong. And now like my neck is screwed up for 3 days. And, why do I have to watch what I eat? Why do I have to watch what I drink? Not a fan of that. I have bills. I got responsibilities. I got a career. I got all these, I got a family. It's like a lot. It's a lot. It's like you're packing a lot of shit onto the car that used to be this fun and freewheeling thing. You zip it out on the road. But now the car is like one of those station wagons from the 80s, just packed full of stuff. You know what I mean? And you're like, it's weighing you down and the car's not flying anymore. And it's like, it's like driving a shopping cart at some point. And a lot of them, go through the midlife crises. You say, well, I'm just going to dump everything off. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the wife and leave the kid. I'm going to leave everything. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to get a hairpiece. I'm going to do the whole thing, get a new sports car. And you get a new car from the rental counter in Kansas City. You're like, the second half of my life is going to be great. For some it is, for some it isn't. But a lot of people will get to that airport in Kansas City at midlife and say, what am I doing? What am I doing? And again, you look at the opportunity to burp up breakfast, banana bread. It was fantastic. If you're on that ledge today, my friends, banana bread is worth sticking around for. Once again, not moralizing, I'm just saying banana bread is worth sticking around for. It's phenomenal, especially this banana bread. So good. You get to Kansas City at midlife on your soul's road trip from New York to LA. And you say, I cannot fathom that Kansas City to LA is going to be better and more enjoyable than New York to Kansas City was. New York to KC was a mixed bag. More bad than good. I had more difficult adventures on the way from New York to Kansas City than I had enjoyable adventures. But I did it. I toughed it out. I made it through. Here I am. Okay, cool. I'm here. And you're telling me now I still got to go from Kansas City to LA. I've still got to drive from KC to LA when the airport is right there. I can hop a flight home. Once again, I can be home by dinner. A couple hours. It's that easy. It's that simple. Friends, if you've never been on that ledge, you'll never understand how orgasmically wonderful that thought is. When you're staring down the barrel of thousands of miles of driving after a road trip that's already brought you to your freaking knees. And I mean this when I say orgasmically wonderful feeling that your mind plays of getting on that flight and just going home. Just going home. A few hours, I'll be home for dinner. Keep it warm. It's so wonderful. And yet, the person who thinks that is constantly moralized by everybody else. You can't do that. You've got to keep on driving because I need to know what you're going to go through driving through Kansas. Jack shit. But I need to know. Well, maybe a tornado outbreak. I mean, there's a decent chance of that. You're driving in April or May. It's a non-zero chance. That's an interesting experience for the soul to come down here and have some adventure and duck and dodge those F4s coming at you. Again, the soul doesn't have to go through it. You do. The soul is just dreaming that it's you so it can experience it. But you, as a singular point of consciousness that shrunk down to experience it, are looking at a freaking twister coming at you saying, what the hell did I sign up for? That's the nature of this entire give and take. And everybody around you in your ecosystem is saying, you can't go. You can't fly home. You got to drive all the way back, because they're watching the show and they want to see you continue to do it. Well, I need you. I need you on the live stream, checking in on Insta from, Hayes, Kansas this morning. I need to see where you go here. Listen, for all you know, Kansas could be the best part of the trip, no matter what happened before. And that's the fun part of the road trip. That's the fun part of the game. If you're open to it, you never know how great it truly can be. That's the case for sticking around. You just don't know. And just when you think all hope is lost, that's usually when it turns around. Think of your favorite characters in movies. Just when you think it's cooked, it's toast, we're dead, we're done. Rudy's never getting into Notre Dame. And then he sits there by the lake and he opens the letter and starts crying like a baby, which is very healthy, by the way. It's good for a grown man to let out some emotion, all right? Take your red pill stuff, shove it up your ass. It's beautiful. I love it. So what we have here is something that I think you can all appreciate on a deep level, which is you just don't know. But if you do want to go home, if you do want to fly back, I think it shouldn't be shamed. It should be understood. It should be seen like, yeah, I get it. I do. I get it. I understand it. I mean, how could you not? If everything up until Kansas City has just been one hellscape after another, or even up to Chicago, or let's say you're in your 50s, so you get as far to Denver, and you say, the road between Denver and LA is going to be pretty desolate. It's going to be pretty difficult. And you're looking at a few decades ahead. You're like, I'm not going to get younger, and I'm probably not going to get healthier, and I'm not going to get more nimble, and my cognitive abilities are not going to get sharper. And you start looking at kind of where your body's going, not necessarily where your spirit is, but where your body's going. And it's not a pretty picture. You say, Jesus, I've been through all this, 2,000 miles at this point. The idea of the home stretch here, like 30 more years, like going through that desolate landscape, there's not going to be a lot of service stations. They're really not. Are you kidding me? Nah. There are so many flights from Denver to LA. There are so many. I could pop any one of them and get out of here right now. I had a good run. I mean, I drove 2,000 freaking miles. I lived 55 years on this rock. These are things that people say in their 50s when they want to call it a day. And again, who can blame them when you're in that situation? Unless you are in a predicament where you can say, I am so excited to get to Utah and get to Moab, because the desert scenery and the landscape and the hiking and all that is so spectacular. It's like I'm driving over the surface of Mars, but I get to do it here on Earth. How could I miss that? If you're in your 50s, you think, I get to move into a community now where it's basically college part 2. I can hang out with my friends all day long. We can go over to each other's houses with a bottle of wine and maybe a pineapple to indicate other kinds of fun. We can go to the pool and we can do all kinds of different things. The best years of my life are coming up. They're not behind me. They're coming up. If you're in Denver and you say, wow, I get a chance to drive through the Rockies, through the Vail Pass, through the Western Slope, and into Utah. This is going to be spectacular. And Vegas is coming up. This is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for my golden years. Then of course you're not going to fly back from Denver, because in your mind, the best part of the trip is still coming up. But if it's been nothing but hell from New York to Denver, it's hard to imagine Denver to LA is going to be much better. It really is, truly, especially if you have a beat up car and not a lot of money, and you're going to be staying in rat ass motels from this point to there. It's hard to say it's going to be better. It still might. You might get into Nevada, hit a video poker machine, boom, all your fortunes turn around, and that home stretch through the Mojave Desert on I-15 will be the best part of the trip. You could stop in Baker, get some of that beef jerky. You could stop in Barstow, get some In-N-Out. It could be a great, great stretch. Great stretch. But you don't know that. None of us do. All we know is that, hey, it's been a trip. I want to fly home. So if that's you, if you've been on that trip and you want to fly home, just know you're not in the wrong. I see you. I love you. It could get better. I don't know if it will. Not going to look you in the eye and bullshit you. It might. So whether you stick around is entirely up to you. Is it worth might? It's kind of like, what the hell were those names in City Slickers when they were stranded, the ice cream guys, Our lives are hanging on might. Such an obscure reference. And if you get that, I love you more than words can possibly describe. Friends, you got this. One way or the other, remember, you're going home and your mansion in Malibu awaits.